Dr. Lucy Meier from Third Coast Foot and Ankle, and I am here to talk to you about your foot structure and how it's impacting your performance. So as an athlete, you're doing all sorts of different things to make sure that your performance is top bar, or at least that you're doing as good as you can, whether you're a weekend warrior or you are a competitive athlete. But what about your natural anatomy? And how is that maybe impacting your performance? And is there anything that you can do to alter or improve upon that? So specifically, I'm a podiatrist. I'm going to talk to you about your feet and your feet structure. So let's start with flat feet. So flat feet is something that we would also refer to as overpronation. So this is when your arches are falling down and your ankles are rolling inward. Now there's different degrees of flat feet, but we will just kind of in general talk about that instance of overpronation. So what you need to do to kind of improve some of that irregular motion is to make sure you're in a stability shoe, and then oftentimes adding arch support. Now, why is this important? You know, if a flat foot is actually really good at absorbing impact, but that also means that it's absorbing some of that impact and spreading it through your body. And so we do see a higher incidence of knee pains and shin splints when somebody is a overpronator. So if you're starting to notice maybe some other joint pain is creeping up on you, even though your form has been really, really good, it could come down to that you are overpronating and you need some additional support or maybe a shoe change. Now, on the other end, we're going to talk about high arches. So if you have a really, really high arch, you tend to underpronate, which means you're doing some supination. These feet are really bad at absorbing impact, which means that you're more likely for stress fractures, ankle sprains, and just overall general pain, long-term arthritis. It's not a great setup. So when you have underpronation, the solution is actually to make sure that we have appropriate cushioning in our shoes to absorb some of that impact so it doesn't get transferred right into our bones and all the way up. The other thing to consider is working on your flexibility and mobility with our high arches, because we tend to have some limitations just with our structure, so we want to max that out as much as possible. Now, ankle sprains can also be a lot more common in a underpronator or a higher arch because you tend to ride on the outside of your ankles. So you also want to work on stability training, a lot of balance boards, proprioception to protect those ankles long-term from rolls and twists and sprains. Now, if you have a neutral foot, you are the lucky one, right? So the neutral foot really has a balanced impact when it meets the ground in during activity. And so we don't have to add bells and whistles to what you're doing. We just need to keep you underlying protected. You're still at risk of overuse or an overtraining. And you know, just because you have a neutral foot doesn't mean you can go and do everything barefoot. You still need that protection for the sport, right? So if you are a runner, you want to be in a good running shoe. If you are a tennis player, you want to make sure you have protection for those types of movements. Now, there can be a lot of questions on trying to figure out what type of foot that you have. So the easiest way to do that is to get your feet wet, walk around barefoot, and check out your foot imprint. If you see a lot of foot and not a lot of arch, that means that you are an overpronator. If you see a lot of, or not much arch at all, you just see kind of a little ring of a foot, it's hard to even make out that it is a foot, you are now an underpronator. And if it looks like an average foot type, then you're probably a neutral. We love to do this with activity, so I wouldn't necessarily say get your feet wet and then just stand still, because that's not how we play sports. Go ahead and walk around the room and compare your footsteps over time, see if they're changing, see what's most consistent, because our body does obviously compensate and alter depending on what types of motions that we are doing. So if you found this video helpful, please click the like button. That helps us a lot. And I hope I answered your questions about your foot type and how it might be impacting your game. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us or add some things to the comments. And once again, I am Dr. Lucy Meier from Third Coast Foot and Ankle.